The newest D&D adventure, Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden, has arrived at the game chamber, and with it, there's a mighty chill in the air. So let's crack out some snow products and get frosty. What are we doing today, Tim?
So we're going to do some snow-based examples in a variety of products that we sell here at the shop.
So are we making the same 7 bases?
Because we're so good at this, they're going to match, but we're still going to get a good example of how each one gives you a slightly different effect. We've got AK, Citadel, and Vallejo. Oh, and Army Painter. Almost forgot about Army Painter. Yeah, we're gonna do some cork rocks. We're gonna give a little bit of texture, and then we're just gonna put snow all over the bases.
Let's see who wins.
Yeah, that's right.
We're going to be testing out a range of products today. We've got some Games Workshop modelling snow, some Vallejo Environment Snow, some Citadel Valhallan Blizzard, some AK Terrain Snow, some AK Terrain Snow Sprinkles, and AK Snow Microballons. Oh, and Army Painter. Almost forgot about Army Painter. As far as the bases go that we're putting these on, we're keeping them pretty easy. We've got some 40mm bases here that we had lying around, and then we're just using some regular cork to make some stones and rocks. Hey, look, there's something you don't see every day, me doing some work. You can have a guess which bases were made by Tim and which one were made by me. Spoiler alert, mine aren't as good. Bit of super glue on the cork to stick it down, and then we're using one of Citadel's debris paints to get some texture on there. It's called Agrivellan debris, or so, I don't know, they always have ridiculous names. Dragon poop debris or something. If you don't have this stuff or don't want to spend the money on it, you can always just use regular grey paint with some sand or something in there. But however you do it, make sure you're using an old brush or just a cheap brush that's made for this, because it will completely wreck your brushes. Filling in the edges of the rocks using the airbrush here. Again, regular paint and a paintbrush is fine, we just have the airbrush on hand. And then with a really light bluey grey, we're bringing out some of the details with a quick dry brush. Keeping these simple here on purpose because the snow is really what we're here for. First up is the Vallejo Environment Snow. It's got a pretty decent body, goes on pretty easily and sticks well to the surface. Feels very similar actually to the debris paints from Citadel. The main thing we notice with this one over a lot of the others is it really keeps the brush shape, which gives it an interesting texture when it dries. Next up is the Citadel Valhallan Blizzard. Pretty similar this one to the Vallejo Environment, although it doesn't hang quite as well on the surface as you'd like. Just take a little bit of work to get it off the brush, but otherwise it has a pretty good mix of being able to do larger blobs and then also smaller sprinkles across the textured surface there. Next up is AK Terrain Snow. Little tricky to apply this one, but it's definitely the whitest of them all. A real brilliant white that you get from this one. It hangs together really nicely to make real nice fresh looking snow. After that, it's AK Snow Sprinkles. This is definitely the wettest one that we're looking at today, and as such gives you more of a slushy, slightly older snow look, but it sparkles really nicely. Got little bits in there that really pick up the light, and you get that really sort of sparkly look on top of it. Very nice. The last 3 products are all powders, so they're going to need a bit of glue down first. We're just using PVA. You might get different or even better results using super glue here, but we're doing them all the same with PVA to keep the test equal. First up is the GW Modelling Snow. We're not too sure this one's still available, to be honest, but we had it around and we thought we'd throw it in the test just to see, but it didn't really look like it was doing anything incredible. Next up is AK's Microballons. This is such a fine powder to the point where if you put a finger in the tub, you don't really even feel anything. Super, super fine stuff. And lastly, Army Painter's Battlefield Snow. Almost the opposite of the last one. This one's actually quite coarse. Has a kind of consistency of detergent, laundry powder, but it goes on quite nice and it's a nice, brilliant white. Once all of those were done, we took some Army Painter Frozen Tufts, bringing a little bit of colour and to break up the grey and white, using a drop of super glue to put them into place. They do come sticky already, but because this is quite a rough terrain here, we're just giving it some super glue to help them along. And finally a bit of black paint on the rims. Paint your damn rims! We gave them a day to dry and then we compared the results. We tried to put these in a bit of an order of worst to best, but honestly a lot of these are different as opposed to better or worse. And they're going to provide different looks depending on what you need, apart from a couple of them. The first one, the Games Workshop Modelling Snow, we really wouldn't recommend it. It's almost like a really small, fine flock. Has a fuzzy, textured look and feel to it. And like we say, I don't think this is available anymore, but it's not worth rooting through your local store's bargain bin to try and find any of it. Next up is Vallejo's Environment Snow. Again, kept a lot of its brilliant white as it dried. The main thing we noticed with this one is it really holds onto the brush strokes and gives it a walked through snow kind of look. If you're looking for fresh flutters on fields, this probably isn't it, but if you're looking for some stuff outside of a tavern that's walked through, this could be what you're looking for. Citadel's Valhallan Blizzard is definitely an improvement on the old Games Workshop stuff and gives a kind of similar finish to that Vallejo environment. There are points where it's sort of split as it's dried on the really thinner areas, but overall, if you're just looking for something quick and dirty, this goes down pretty well. Okay, now we're looking at some of the ones that have placed. First of all, the AK Terrain Snow. A really brilliant white, gives you a really full-bodied looking snow, and it comes in such a huge tub that it's most likely going to last you forever. The only negative we have of this is it does give you quite harsh lines where the snow ends, but we are going to look at fixing that in just a moment. Next up is AK Snow Sprinkles. This was that slightly wet one with the real sort of glisten to it, and as it dries it doesn't really disappoint. It gives you a really sort of slushy look. It isn't really that crisp white snow that you might be looking for, but personally I think this is probably the most realistic looking product on its own. And finally, AK Snow Microballons. This one doesn't really work very well on its own, to be honest, but we don't really think it's made for this use, and instead is really designed to go with another snow product. As you can see, it's split quite a lot as it's dried, and on its own doesn't really give across a snow texture. I think the idea here is meant to be adding it to other stuff to give it that sort of fresh frost look on the top, but on its own, yeah, not really great. Battlefield Snow from Army Painter is probably your best bang for your buck product. It's one of the cheapest ones we've shown here, and it just needs a bit of glue to stick it down. It isn't the finest of products. You can see the individual grains there, but overall it gives pretty good coverage, and it kind of sucks the glue up a little bit and creates little mounds of snow where the glue and the product has gone on a little bit thicker. Straight out the box does a pretty good job. And lastly, we put a few of the products together to really get some great results. First of all, AK Terrain Snow with AK Snow Microballons on top. This is the winner, hands down. Gorgeous looking finish on this one. You've got the lovely, brilliant white mounds from the Terrain Snow, but then that edge just softens out a little bit with the microballons on top. It's difficult to see on video here, but this really is the best looking one that we came out with, and definitely the one that we would move forward with in the future. But also we did one with the Vallejo Environment Snow. That's the one that really holds onto the brush shapes, again with some micro balloons on top. This gives you a really great rough snow texture, the sort of snow that's been rammed through or stepped through. I mean, genuinely the brush strokes here almost look like footprints, which purely happen by accident, but a really nice rough, slightly older snow finish. And then finally the AK Snow Sprinkles with some micro balloons on top, and this gives a really gorgeous old slushy kind of snow. You know, snowfall was maybe a week or two ago and there hasn't been any since. If that's something you're looking for, this is a great combination to get that across. Again, you get that slight sort of glisten from the AK stuff, and then the micro balloons just kind of soften it out a little bit. Oh, I think that looks really great as well. So there you go. Which do you think has come out the best? Personally, we're a big fan of the AK products in this case, but for the most part they've all got something good to be said about them. Let us know in the comments which one you think looks the best, and also if there's anything else you use to create great snow, let us know in the comments about that too. Thanks so much for watching, hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like, it really helps, and stick around by subscribing for more here from the Game Chamber.